Alrighty, here we go. Friday, February the 6th, 2026. I'm just gonna try something here. I'm waiting for people to show up. For those who are going to show up, I'll be here for a while. And we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I'm not sure what's going on here. I can't tell whether or not this is going over the airwaves or not. So let me check this, make sure. Hi, Daphne. I'm trying to check something out here. Perhaps maybe you can help me out. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and sit there and see if I can play some audio. I have audio running through the computer and not through the OBS system because I'm running USB and it doesn't allow audio except for what's coming through the keyboard. So I'm gonna go ahead and play something until you tell me whether or not you hear anything. So I'll be playing some music. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and play some music. So hopefully it's not just picking it up through the microphone. Hopefully you can hear it clearly on the other side. So that's what I'm trying to figure out real quick. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and play something. Yeah, is it clear? Is it as clear as my voice is? That's really the question I'm asking. I'm listening here, and I don't know what it sounds like on the other end. That's the question. Is it sound? Probably should shut off the microphones. I don't see anything coming through the microphone. So. All right, so it is working then. Okay, so I'm just going to shut that off. All right. Trying to do things different ways here because this running through the USB of the keyboard I'm using, or should I say the instrument. Audio doesn't work through OBS, so I can't play anything through that. So I'm playing that through my computer, and it's hard to tell. There's only way that I can tell is to be able to hear it on the playback. So I don't know exactly what you're hearing on the other end, but I guess it doesn't really matter all that much. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, so I'm going to just go ahead and play some music and give it the opportunity for people to show up before I get started. Because I don't want to backpedal on anything. So for those who may be watching this on playback, I won't be starting until I don't know when. I'm not going to, if anybody's out there and they want to timestamp whatever's going on, if you want to take it upon yourself to do that, you can go through it and timestamp it and put that timestamp within the comment section. You're more than welcome to, and I would appreciate that. But doing these lives, it's always really about waiting for people to show up. And there has been a tendency in the past where I just go ahead and start speaking. And then I find myself having to go back and repeat myself over and over again, which that is not something I want to do. That takes a lot of energy and it's very frustrating. So I'm going to wait around to see if anybody shows up. If not, then I will go ahead and kind of briefly go over what I plan on doing and then go ahead and close out. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with this. Not if there's nobody going to, only if there's, only if there's a couple people here, I'm not going to give that much time to it. But here we are. So I'm going to go ahead, I guess, play this music and allow that to play through, which will be about, 15 minutes or so. So I'll come back in about 15 minutes. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and just go over some of the notes that I created for myself here. I'll just read through it. That way I'll just stay on point. And hopefully you get something out of it. So the idea here is to make this personal. So I won't be using necessarily the word, well, I will be using the word we, but it's best that you use the word I or me. Make it personal. I am, in this case. I am monad, dreaming myself as a multitude of expressions simultaneously. Now, when using the word dreaming, it's not a metaphor. It's literal. That's literally what is going on. And it's not just this reality, meaning not just this density, so-called. It's in every single state all the time. We are always dreaming ourselves. So emphasizing, I am the monad. I am monad. So through ongoing experience, there's expansion that's taking place because there's not any experience that is not of value unless it's stuck in a loop. And then it has no value. Repeated information, or should I say the same exact information being repeated, is not valuable. So expansion is taking place through ongoing experience. This is new experience or perception of new experience, potentiality. I experience myself through focus. It's not through subdivision. This is not subdivision of energy. This is the focus of that which I am, boots on the ground, that is being the monad. The monad, boots on the ground, where I'm at here. Within this personality, I experience self differently through the manifest agreed upon collective agreement. This is what a soul contract is. It's a co-creative collaborative effort for the potentiality of perpetuation of creation through expansion, that which is through experience of individuated personality. It is the most effective way for experience creating expansion than any other aspect. It's all part of the same thing, but this has a great degree of separation more so than others, meaning other experiential self or points of focus, that which we are the monad. We're dreaming ourselves. Remember this. This is not a figurative expression. It's literal. It's important in regard to this individuation experience, this sense of separation, this illusion of separation is highly beneficial. It's not something that we should be wanting to run away from. A lot of people within communities, spiritual communities, especially within the New Age, I run into, and this is not any reflection on yourself, but this is mistaken to think that you're looking to find your way back to source. And that's not what it is at all. You are source forgetting itself purposely and creating these realms, these reality fields, in order to facilitate that. because of what can be brought out of that, what can be created out of that, what aspect of expansion that can occur where it cannot occur in any other way. So in all that it entails, all the things that occur, all the things that take place, a lot of which, having boots on the ground, being here, experiencing it in so-called real time, which there's really no real time, it's all an illusion, it's all dreaming, but the experiences are real for sure, without question. I have things popping up on my screen here, always getting in the way. And so it is about finding the value of being here, eventually realizing that you are the monad, that you're not finding your way back to anything. You're experiencing self differently in a very unique way. And when I come to realize this, I mean, truly realize this, I can appreciate things on all levels. I see it for what it is, understanding it within me in my core. That's because I recognize myself as the monad. It's like Yeshua, Jesus, right? He recognized himself as being the monad. And he tried to communicate that to everybody else, that it would hear that you are that too. That's the reason why he walked with such authority, why he spoke with such authority and understanding, is because he was walking within the awareness of true self. And it's easy to get lost in the dream. It really is. But that's okay, because nothing is truly lost, ever. It just seems that way. So we have these agreements that we've made, right, collectively. This is, the contracted soul frequency timelines, right? Each timeline is really a pinpoint of frequency, because time is a construct. Because time is a construct, it's not past, present, or future. It's just different degrees of vibration and oscillation. Here's a simple way to look at it. Think of that note as a pinpoint within the timeline. Think of the keyboard as being the timelines, right? Different frequency, different points within the timeline. And let me add another analogy to this to help make it perhaps more sense to you. You've heard this before, but this will bring it together a little bit better, perhaps. Think of a radio. For those that used to know what a radio is, and you would have frequency being transmitted, and it would be within a particular bandwidth, as the example going back to the note. There it's this pinpoint of frequency from which transmission is taking place. Think of that transmission as being a consciousness band. And so when you're in that consciousness band, what you're hearing or what you're participating in and what you're experiencing is that frequency, related frequencies within that realm or that bandwidth. Going back to the radio, you have all kinds of transmissions taking place, but you're dialed into that one. Let's refer to that as a note. You're dialed into that one note. You're experiencing that. This is what's transpiring right now in regard to the multiplicity of the monad self within these different aspects of self, all taking place simultaneously throughout the keyboard or the timeline. There is no past, present, or future. It is all just occurring within different vibration and oscillation. This is oscillating slower than this. It's the same note, but it's oscillating faster. It's part of the timeline, and it's very specific. Going back again to the radio station, the bandwidth, the frequency, and that's what we're dialed into right now. And it's meant for us to be here, not over here or here, there. Here. This is where we're supposed to be, right here. Let's take advantage of that. Let's sculpt the reality dream field accordingly to where we're at. It's important to be where you're at. You know, when you're listening to that radio station, as an example, you're dialed into that. You're not thinking about other radio stations, are you? If you are, you're probably going to tune into it. That's beside the point. I'm trying to emphasize you are there where you're that. You know, either you're present there, for lack of terms, either you're present or you're somewhere else. And what I'm saying is it's important to be here. So you're not lost. You're not working your way back to source. You are source, experiencing self differently through a personality, through an individuated state. It's a mouthful. Purposely. The realms that are created and allowed to be what they are purposely. All right, so like I said, I'm following my notes. Didn't have a whole lot of time with this, so while this is taking place, all these different individuations simultaneously occurring. When the course is finished, like as an example, this body here is going to expire. It has an expiration date to it. So when it expires, there's reintegration that takes place. Not right away, doesn't happen right away, but it does take place. Especially knowing if you know that you are the monad. Okay? So reintegration. So that going back to self in its collective state, in its fullness. What happens immediately, because it's always going on, because we're always dreaming ourselves, okay? What happens is there's focus on new potentialities of individuation going on all the time, okay? So it's important, like I said, it's important to be present here while you're here. Take advantage of it. It's very valuable if you allow it to be, because you're really the architect. Your intention, your thoughts, is creating the architecture. And then your beliefs, your feelings, your desires, your affections, the emotional quality of it, it's creating the landscape. Or you could say the dreamscape, right? Remember, you're the monad, boots on the ground. Yeah. So when you truly become aware that you are not a soul that's finding its way back to source, that you are the monad, or should I say, rather, you are the source dreaming itself as individuated personality, then there's a freedom there to be able to experience and be in that moment, right? You're not trapped. You're none of these things that have been, claimed to be. I mean, if you don't know this, let me back up. If you don't know this, you're not aware of that you are the source. If you're not aware of this truly, to where you become, you're in a state of, well, I know that I am, then you will be subject to a lot of different things. You're never lost. How can you be? That's ridiculous. But, it's all a process, and decisions that are made here through belief systems. And belief systems are important to the idea of experience. I'm not going to say what those should be for anybody. That's none of my business. However, I know the ones that I'm creating for myself, and those are my business, and those are important to me. And it's important for me to stay in my own lane too. You know, whatever I have to give, it has to be give through authenticity of myself. At least that's the way I feel about it. You know, or sometimes it's giving something that really has nothing to do with me, but it's for the benefit of somebody else. I've done that a lot, which I'm not really too big about doing that these days. Not because I don't think about it, it's because it just doesn't feel like it's part of me anymore to do that necessarily. Not that I'm not willing to go out of my way, which I would be. I'm just saying I just don't have as much thought towards that these days as I used to. As the vessel gets older, as your expiration date starts to come to a close, so to speak, certain other things take over. You as the monad, boots on the ground, that's what transpires. There's a transition that takes place that, in this case, I'm able to share that a little bit as I am right now. But in truth, it's something that's just happens with you or it doesn't. But eventually it does. Depends on what time frame, either within this lifetime or when you move out of this dream state into the next. Yeah, to go back to, I guess, to reiterate what I said, these reality fields are created, or realms, dimensions, whatever. They're consciousness bands. They're realms in order to be able to experience self differently through. It's intentional. It's how you navigate through it. And it's not about anything other than the process of experience in order for expansion to occur. It's about becoming more aware. And you can become extremely aware through adversity. Things that you normally would have never experienced before. And I run into a lot of people, I listen to people talk. And what I hear is I hear their history, I hear their story. And it's displayed. It's just there outside of what they're saying. It's very clear, at least to myself. And I'm just assessing that. And I'm going, oh, that's interesting. It's interesting because they have a certain perspective of something, but it's limited to them. And you may have an experience, or I may have an experience something similar, but I have it from a completely different, or in some cases, the antithesis of the way that they're having that experience for themselves. What seems to be most important to them, right? And I hear that from people. What is most important to them? And I listen to that and I go, okay. And I know I'm being vague. Okay, it's hard to be. I have to give a situation or something that defines what I'm really saying with this. Personal experiences from other people, which even if I don't know them, I don't want to do that. So I'm trying to generalize. Okay, but as an example for myself, I hear them say certain things that I know that they mean, but it's exclusive to the world that they've created for themselves, their dreamscape. And they don't see anything outside of that. But it's all centered around that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Because that's important. Again, going back to being present here within yourself, so that whatever your affections are, whatever your desires and your beliefs that has led you down the path where you're at, reflect if this is important to you, or you're just doing it because it's been part of the things that you've been involved with. And we all kind of adapt things to ourselves, but when you remove those things and just kind of go back to your first awareness while being with us within this incarnation. What was the affections? What was the things that brought you joy? What was the things that you were interested in, on a personal level? Not necessarily things that it influenced you, but things that you naturally kind of were drawn towards, I think those things are important so that you live out this incarnation following those things, because you're going to find the fullness for the main reason why you're in this particular incarnation, and just let it flow naturally. It's not you don't need discipline. It doesn't. What I mean by discipline is like skills. If you're developing skills or whatever, everything is work here, and that's as it should be. But what I'm referring to is following the true sense of authenticity within you. That's important because why? I mean, you're here. This personality is meant to be experienced in its fullness in respect to that, because that is the monad, boots on the ground intention. And, so my encouragement would be is to follow that and be present. And, you can do other stuff that just builds on that, but allow that to be your foundation for everything. And when you start to kind of go this way or go that way, you can always come back to center. Okay. So thoughts create architecture, or beliefs become the landscape or dreamscape. Thought intention is the studio of creation. Thought intention is the studio for creation. Thoughts creates architecture. What is the architecture? It's the structure. And then you build, think of it as being the architecture. Think of the architecture as being a house. And then within the house, you decorate the house. You landscape around the house. Add things that you like, which reflects you. What's your taste? That's your belief. That's your affections. That's your feelings towards. So thoughts are the architecture. It's the structure. And then your beliefs, your feelings, your desires, the emotional quality is creating the landscape. In this case, we can use the word dreamscape, right? So the inner landscape is a harmonic construct. Again, using the analogy that I do in respect to the keyboard as being the time matrice, and this is really an accurate description of it. It's a little bit simplistic, but yet it's really foundationally, it's accurate. And so we're not matter, the idea that we're made up of matter. The truth is we're musical. We're made up of music because it's harmonic. Everything is. You can trace it all back to being harmonic. Everything is. Frequency. What is frequency? It's harmonic structure. The whole thing is harmonic. It's musical. We are music. So, subharmonically, intention will play its tones. That's what's going on within us. Language, what is the language? The language is harmonic, right? So the tones will play, and we will naturally seek to resolve to consonants, whether it goes dissonant, let me see if I can give an analogy to this. Like if you're playing a major chord, and so you want to play something that's kind of, and it resolves itself back to the initial tone or intention, right? So whether it's distorted or whatever it is, there's a natural seeking within self to resolve. Okay? That's because we're harmonic, we're music, another way to look at it, which would be an accurate way to look at it in regard to manifest reality, structure. It's all intention. The intention creates the architecture. Okay? So building a chord structure or musical movement, that's architecture. It's harmonic, it's musical, it's mathematical, it's a lot of different things, but the core of it is that there's always this movement taking place. So the best way for me to look at it is harmonically, right? And it's true. We're not matter, we're music. So let's see here. So again, we're the monad, boots on the ground, right? The original intention, this is all about realigning to us as the monad. And this is in reflection, I'll just go ahead and put this away. This is in reflection to what I had just said. So, and that has to do with your affections, right? Your initial, if you allow yourself to go back to the earlier stages of this incarnation, and you feel where your affections and where your desires and the things that you emotionally connected to, as far as on a personal, authentic level, through experience. I'll give you an example to what I mean by this. That way you can take it and go with it as you will. But I had mentioned this before. I would go out in the field, open field, where all the bugs and the critters and stuff would be. I would go out there when I was in the early state of this incarnation, and I would find solitude. I would find wonder. I would find exploration. I would find joy in doing that. I didn't need anything around me as far as other people. Wasn't required, because this was what was authentically something within me that I gravitated towards, And so you can find this within different areas of life, Say, as an example also for myself, when I heard music, I heard songs like on the radio, but then I heard a piece of music that was so beautiful it brought tears to my eyes. It was just, I couldn't believe how beautiful it was. And there's those moments where you're reminded of yourself and you authentically find yourself in that moment. Now, for myself, I didn't start playing music until I was in my early 20s, which would have been nice if I could have started earlier, but I didn't. And that's okay, I guess. I'm just making a point. Point is that you're following your authentic self. Because you are the architect. You are the author. You are the monad, boots on the ground. Okay? So you're not an individuated soul looking to find its way back to source. Nonsense. You are source forgetting itself temporarily in order to experience self differently through personality. You're not lost, nor can you ever be lost. It's an impossibility. Just is. You are monad. Alrighty. That's all I wish to bring for today. I'm going to try to continue to do what I've been doing, meaning as far as what I've been doing in my downtime. I've been giving effort towards the idea of touring, going on tour. And so I'm going to look to put together what's the best way to put this? A fundraiser to be able to help fund that, because it costs to be able to do that. And I had somebody who was interested in funding it at one time, but they decided they didn't want to do that. So um, there's always the intention is directed again to go back to what I was saying here. You are monad, and when you realign yourself to those original intended feelings and connecting points, and using the timeline in regard to your earlier stages of this incarnation, you know what it is. You know self. You know true self, truly. You really do. And being aligned with that directs you. So a lot of times, at least in my experience, a lot of times there's nothing other than the idea of the plan. It's not worked out. It's not like all the I's are dotted, not all the T's are crossed. It's just a intent. It's an intention for it to be built. So, there's going to be a process for becoming a nonprofit, an organization. I like to think of it as being a church, but that's okay. It doesn't have to have any particular name other than an organization that would allow for things to take place. So things can move forward, so things can expand and be able to pass it down to others, that they may continue the legacy, so that it's for the benefit of all life, for the potentiality of the greater aspect of what can be. So that's what I'm preparing to do. So I probably am going to be doing some videos here, which will be live music. I don't feel comfortable enough to do live music through live stream yet, because I have to hear how things are going out on the other end. So I want it to be understood well enough when somebody listens to it, and so that's the reason for me doing the video. It'll be live like I'm doing like this, but it'll be pre-recorded so that I can listen back to it and make sure everything's cool, with it, so it can be hopefully well received. So for those who are interested in, helping me out here within this channel, and the objective, which I've spoken about quite a few times already in regard to touring and taking this out on the road and moving it to the next stage. I have all the information that will be needed within the description. You can find that within any video that you find on here on YouTube, as well as in Patreon. You can find information to be able to get in touch with me, or to be able to support financially. And so there's that. Yeah, if PayPal, Daphne's letting everybody know, I prefer Zelle or anything that would actually be more of a direct deposit, because these other platforms do take a percentage, and that normally wouldn't matter to me. It hasn't in the past, but everything has kind of come down to the wire. I'm just speaking the truth. Making this shift and going in this direction that I'm going in means that I can't give the time that I had given before towards these other things, because it requires a lot of effort. And so my energy and time has to be focused on what I'm going to be now doing. So there hasn't been a whole lot of finance taking place for me to be able to just pay my bills. All right. It's just been barely enough. And this month of February, there is nothing coming in except for very little, and it's not enough to cover my bills. I haven't even paid my internet bill yet for this month. So I'm just saying, if you wish to participate, if you wish to support, anything helps. Anything helps. Okay. There is no greater or lesser. It's just anything that you can do. And for those who are interested in Patreon, in supporting me in that way, the least amount is $5 for a month to be able to be a member of Patreon, a paid member. There is mostly those who are on Patreon are not paid members; they're free members. And some people will come in and they will pay a little bit initially, which is I'm thankful for that. But immediately they will become a free member as soon as they do that. And it's what I require and need is consistent support. Enough to be able to pay the bills at least for what I'm doing. I have a long story in regard to why situations and financially things have become the way that they become. I got ill during 2020, and I lost virtually everything except for the roof over my head, and I really haven't been able to snap back with that at all. Once you lose your savings and everything else that you've been kind of developing and your health, what are you going to do? So I'm still around. I still have intention, and I can't do it without other people. It's just the facts. This is a co-creative collective agreement that we've made towards one another, and it's important for me to voice the truth in regard with, enough to where people understand where I'm coming from. I'm pretty transparent, So you can do that whatever you wish with whatever you wish to do with it, and whatever you wish to involve yourself in here on this channel. Like I said, it's appreciated, but there's a time for things to change, and that's exactly what's happening right now. These things have to change. If I am not able to stay here and work out of here and be able to move, I don't have a vehicle or anything. Like I said, there's really no plan outside of the intention for this. I have the ability. I have things that I've been preparing myself for a long time. I've been instructed quite a while back that it's important for me to go out, and if I have to sell this place to do that to finance that, I'm going to do that. And once I do that, I'm not going to be doing very much on YouTube anymore, period. Outside of other people will probably post, and as far as just keeping people up to date to what's going on, because I still want to use it as a platform to communicate and let people know what's going on. But all the things I did in the past will be just primarily disappear, because I just have to give all my energy and what I have to do to what now lays before me, what I have intended to do. And we all come to this place eventually, maybe not necessarily in this lifetime, but that's the case for myself. So hopefully I didn't go on too long about this, but I wanted to be clear. And sometimes it's very uncomfortable to talk about these things, some of the stuff that's personal. But, it's all transparent. It's all an open book anyhow. There's nothing that's not known. So it is what it is. All right, enough babbling. I'm going to go ahead and shut down. I have no other reason to be here. If nobody has anything to say or anything to communicate, or if I don't know what the case may be. I don't sign in here to YouTube, so I don't know who is watching and who's not. I just decided not to do that anymore. So, yeah. All right. Enough of me babbling on here. All right, folks. All right, Daphne, thank you so much. Always. Always. All right, folks. Blessings to you. See you again.